On today's show, the Dallas Mavericks get a win against the Golden State Warriors in Dirk Nowitzki's Jersey Retirement night. Isaac and I were both there in person. We'll tell you everything you need to know.
Do we even care about the game? The game doesn't even matter. Actually, it does. It's a good game. But this is Dirk's night.
We'll talk about that. Number 41, the big German, and more on today's Locked On Mavs.
I'm Luka Doncic, and this is Locked On Mavericks podcast.
Hey, Dallas Mavericks are NBA champions. Bang! Bang! It's good! And the Mavericks have won the game!
If you don't believe, you shouldn't be here.
And welcome. You are locked on to the Dallas Mavericks. My name is Nick Angstadt, media member and NBA channel manager of the Locked On Podcast Network. And joining me, man. Thanks for making Locked On Mavs your first listen every single day. Remember, Locked On Mavs is free and available on all platforms, including YouTube, where you can watch us right now with our new swag. Joining me, as always, my co-host, contributor, writer at Mavs.com, the Dirk Diggler dude, the One More Thing King. What you got for me, Isaac Harris?
I got you a new jacket
Ooh,
with some swag.
cha-ching.
With some swag. Speaking of cha-ching, I walked in the door and told my wife how much I spent. So, cha-ching. This might be the last podcast. It's been good.
No, you got to keep it up. You got to keep getting paid so you can pay off your...
It's been a good ride, guys. So, love you all. And, but no, man, tonight, we'll talk a little bit about the game, but tonight was about the greatest player in franchise history and one of the best NBA players of all time that's ever graced the court, changed the game, even better human being. Got a little misty in the arena tonight, and a night that you'll never forget. And you don't say that very often for any team, that you say, hey, this will be a night we'll never forget in franchise history. And tonight was one of those nights.
Adam Silver was there, and we'll go through everything. We'll tell you guys the whole thing. But what stood out to me was Adam Silver was there, and he got up and he said, I've been to a lot of jersey retirements, but I've never been to a jersey retirement like this. And it felt different, and it needed to feel different, right? Dirk is that kind of a player for
because
this
he's
franchise.
Built different.
We got to see the statue unveiling. We got to see, or at least the model of the statue. Obviously, the jersey was retired. A lot of the 2011 championship team was back. That was sort of a mini reunion for those guys. And they had a full orchestra. They had drumline. They had, it all set up with, chairs on the court and all that kind of stuff. They had several video presentations with players throughout Dirk's life. They had a little mini documentary about 2011 championship run. Like, they had all this stuff going on. Obviously, before the game, they had this museum of Dirk paraphernalia and stuff all over the concourse. They had paraphernalia. What did I?
I'm gonna go with memorabilia.
No, paraphernalia. That's a word.
Yeah.
They had all this stuff all over the place. They were giving away Dirk bobbleheads. They had all this new Dirk merchandise that you see if you're watching on YouTube. They had these Dirk towels that you see on my shelf. They had all these things. They had commemorative tickets. They had NFTs because Mark Cuban was there. They had all kinds of things for Dirk, and it was all warranted, right? Like in the video tribute, Steve Nash said, they did the street named after you. They got the silhouette on the court. They're retiring your jersey. Like, it's just all a little bit too much, and just kind of ribbing his friend Dirk, obviously.
Yeah.
It's not, though, right? Like, there are certain people that are worth celebrating, right? Especially in this day and age. Can I go down that route for a second here? In this day and age, when people get canceled all the time, right? Like, and you just can't enjoy their work anymore or celebrate their work anymore because of things that they've done, and they've compromised our ability to appreciate their work. I think, at least that's how I feel as a consumer of people's work. Different comedians and musicians and artists and people that I've followed have all of a sudden get canceled, and Dirk is not one of those people, right? Like, and it's so important to celebrate the people that were good people, right? And that were who they say they were, and that stood the test of time. Our friend Scott Tomlin, Mavs PR, has been on this show before. In the video tribute, said the best thing about Dirk is that he did not change throughout all these accolades, all the accomplishments, all the honors he's going to get. He did not change as a person.
He's the only NBA player that's ever played 21 seasons with one franchise. So if we're talking about the uniqueness of a jersey retirement, he's the only one to ever do that. So if you're going to talk about what franchise to, honor a player more, than
I started thinking through it and I was like, Bill Russell, it's like Kobe was real different. But you start thinking through it, and there's just not many players that mean more to a specific franchise than Dirk, especially considering the history the Mavs had before Dirk, which was not great and was not long, right? Like there's not much without Dirk.
Yeah, so I mean, he helped bring the one title, to the franchise, 21 seasons, like we said, all the stuff off the court. You know, he literally, when you look at the game of basketball, there's only a certain elite group of players that you can look at and say you changed the game. Like you literally changed the game of basketball. And he did, especially for big men, but also internationally. One of those, videos, shown tonight was all these players or all these people, some of them were players that meant a lot to him. And, almost all of them were in the building tonight, even a couple of them that I'm not that familiar with when it comes to FIBA and international basketball. And one of the gentlemen in the video actually was there tonight, flew in from Sweden, but he talked about it. And I thought it was a very particular moment of that video. And he's like, hey, in the 90s, we would hear, in America, people want to be like Mike. And then Dirk came and international players want to be like Dirk. And that was, I think, a telling sign of it that we talk. I think Bob Sturm said this too, that so much of it is talked about with Dirk about how nice of a guy he is and how amazing of a person he is. I mean, we've seen all the community stuff, and I feel bad even like glossing over it.
I feel like Han Solo in The Force Awakens. It's true.
Yeah, and just
right?
Every bit of it. Visiting hospitals. There's so much stuff that we don't even know. I would hear stories about Dirk that's like, hey, they don't even want this to get out into the to the media. They don't want this to get out.
Brad Townsend's story about Dirk visiting kids in the hospital. That was like a semi-secret thing that he just didn't tell people that he did all the time. I guess we knew that he went out there, but not how often and all this. That was a huge story that came out when Dirk was retiring, and it's just the way he is.
Yeah, so like we hear about that part of Dirk so much that sometimes I think it does, and I'm copying from Bob Sturm on this, sometimes I think it does get overlooked just how good and how important of a player he was to the history of the league. I mean, 6 all-time scorer in the league. So when you look at a jersey retirement, that should be the most over the top, the most dramatic, the most, produced amazing type of jersey retirement. It is for this man, for both on the court, off the court, for his impact to history, for 21 season one franchise, and everything wrapped up into one. Dirk deserves this and more.
Oh, absolutely. And it was an incredible night, right? There's so many different things. Then Isaac and I will start reminiscing and go through all of our different moments. But it honored Dirk, right? And I think the Mavericks did right by Dirk. And I think that man, it got me emotional too, because you start thinking about, man, this is a guy that is a role model for me as a person, as a young boy, like growing up and watching basketball and seeing, honestly, a guy that looks like me. He's German. My last name is German. Like you make that connection and you're like, man, this guy is going out and he's competing with the best of the best. We've read and seen a lot of great stories over the last week from, Mark Stein, Mark Followell, Brian Damaris shared some good stories on the broadcast, on Valley Sports broadcast. Tim Cato wrote a story, and man, there's so much great stuff about Dirk. But the competitor that he was something that stood out to me as well. Just the, I'm not done kicking your ass yet when talking about Kevin Garnett and that Tim Cato story. And like, there's just some incredible stuff and how much of a competitor he was. He apologized to his teammates today as he was doing his kind of speech and accepting the jersey retirement. He said, I apologize if I was rough on the court, but I don't think anybody like accepts that apology because they don't think it's needed, right? Because he was just being competitive. And so it was absolutely wild. Coming up, let's get into everything that we witnessed and experienced in the night. So if you weren't there, we're going to give you our firsthand experience, tell you everything you need to know. And then, of course, we'll get into the game about, Luka and the Mavs took down the Warriors, held the Warriors to their lowest scoring game of the entire season. And the Warriors were largely healthy besides Klay Thompson and James Wiseman. So let's get into that later. But first, let me tell you about Shopify. Shopify is a way for you to save some money for your business, especially if you want to buy some Dirk memorabilia like we did tonight. Shopify gives entrepreneurs the resources once reserved for big businesses, so upstarts, startups, and established businesses alike can sell everywhere, synchronize online and in-person sales, and effortlessly stay informed. Scaling your business is a journey of endless possibilities. So go check out Shopify right now. Millions of businesses are powered by Shopify from first sale to full scale. They have everything you can need. Go to shopify.com/LockedOnNBA. That's all lowercase for a free 14-day trial to check it out and get full access to Shopify's entire suite of features. If you have a small business, go check out Shopify right now. Just go see what it is. It's a free trial for 14 days. That's a long time for you to check out all the different features and things that you can get from Shopify. You can gain insights as you grow with detailed reporting of conversion rates, profit margins, and beyond. Check it out. Shopify.com/LockedOnNBA. All right, Isaac Harris. Dirk Nowitzki's jersey was retired. It was an incredible night. Let's start from the beginning, right? Let's start from when we first walked in. You and I, we drove there together. You were gracious enough to drive me to drive me there, and we show up and we walk into the concourse. Even before we start seeing people around the building. There's an energy. There's just there's a palpable energy in the building of like, this is different. There's more people that showed up early to this game than any game I've seen in years, probably. Maybe Dirk's retirement game. They were there. They were getting bobbleheads. There was stuff in the concourse. We walked around the concourse and saw all the things that they had out there. It was Dirk's championship ring, the trophies, the all-star rings. I didn't even know that the guys got all-star rings, but Dirk had all these all-star rings out there that were really cool to look at. He had this whole case of shoes that all had little things written on it that was right down your neck of the woods. It had all these little things written on it, like game 6 of the finals, and it had these different things. And man, it was walking through, these memories just flood back. Anything stand out in that museum when we first walked in?
Well, he loves hyper dunks. That was his shoe there for. Even think Nike. Shout out to Nike. Made his jersey retirement speech there. But no, it was just really cool. I thought it was. They had the trophies on display for people to see, the MVP trophy, and I went down the concourse right before tip off and just walked around. The amount of people that were just, we don't get to see those things very often, right? I mean, so people be able to see these things up close and in person.
A lot of this stuff was just at Dirk's house. Dirk just had it, and he said that he had to dig through and try and find some of this stuff. And he's like, "Oh, I had this tucked away somewhere." And we're like, "We would like to see it, please. Like please put it on display." And so it was really cool to see all that stuff.
Yeah, so I mean, we just enjoyed that. We walked around. This was probably about 45 minutes before the doors open, and just walked into the arena a little bit, lower bowl, seen the commemorative tickets that were for all the fans in the arena, little towels, and we we struck gold a little bit on the finding a there's the ticket right there.
There's a ticket. I got it on YouTube if you guys are watching right now.
Finding a shop that was open for. We both wanted to get some gear tonight to honor Dirk and everything. But then it was just a matter of going to this game, because it was such a weird vibe. We'll talk about the game in the third segment, but it was like, all right, best team in the league. I know we've been playing well, but the whole vibe felt like, let's just get to this end. Like, there's not many games you go to and you're like, all right, can I just fast forward the game? And
especially a game against an opponent like the Warriors with Steph Curry and a team that you're like, okay, well, come on, let's go. And it was a tight, contested game for most of it. And I just wanted to fast forward it too.
Yeah, so we'll talk about the game in a second. So the game ends, and then it's like the waiting period. It's about 10 minutes, there for the ceremony to start. And they start setting out all these chairs. And they set out like music stands. And I leaned over to Bobby Crowell, and I'm like, are they bringing out a freaking orchestra? Like, is there
and the Mavs said, yes, we are. 100%.
Yeah, and they rolled out the Dallas Symphony Orchestra, for this thing. And they pumped a lot of fog into the lower bowl.
Did they ever stop pumping fog? I don't think they did.
Yeah, and I was kind of worried for people in the lower bowl. I'm like, dude, if I would be pissed if I couldn't see stuff
or hear, because it was loud. We could hear them all the way up in the press box. How loud those were.
Yeah. So they set the seats out, obviously, Dirk and his kids and his wife and Holger. and then a lot of the 2011
His kids
team
was
there.
notable. We do not see his kids very often. I thought it was really notable that
Yeah.
his kids were around and were here for this. And his kids are young, right? They're like elementary school age, and so to see those kids and to witness this, you have to just like, what could they possibly think, right? You hear a lot of
They looked like they were ready for bed, and I don't blame them.
I was gonna say it's true, but you think about, I hear a lot from actors and actresses and famous people on late night shows. They're like, oh, my kids don't care what I do or what I am. I'm just dad or I'm just mom, and I wonder if Dirk's kids are the same way with it. Like,
well, they
damn,
are
come
so
on.
young that it's going to be fascinating when they start to get older and they really start to get like into sport, or at least like be able to comprehend. I mean, they can now, but as they get older and they really know just how good dad was.
Start looking up YouTube highlights.
And they talk to the right people and stuff. But okay, I want to ask you this, because this was my only thing about the ceremony. We'll get into the trophy and stuff. My only thing about the ceremony, if we just want to nitpick, is I thought it was a little bit too, this is the only negative thing I'll say, a little bit too 2011 finals heavy for me. It like swayed back and forth of, hey, is this a reunion for the finals or is this a Dirk celebration thing? And that's my only, I just want to get that out of the way. And that was my only thing.
Yeah, I have a theory on that. And one of my theories is that the Mavs didn't get to do a 2011 10-year reunion. Dirk even mentioned that on in his acceptance speech. What is it, an acceptance speech? It's like a his thank you. Like, what do we call that thing? That
I accept this banner.
Yeah, I know. Like, I accept that you're putting this in the rafters. So they didn't get to do that, and so there's a little bit of that. And then also you had the guys there, and I think it was memorable for Dirk because it's the biggest accomplishment in his career. And so to bring back those memories, to play this mini documentary. And the mini documentary, I thought we talked about this later, was that it was about everybody, and it wasn't just Dirk. Like, it wasn't just Dirk clips every single shot. And I think that would mean a lot to Dirk because it wasn't just him. He kept saying several times this week, tonight, and the last couple of days, I tried to not be bigger than anyone, to be a bigger piece than anyone else, right? I tried to be a team player. Holger mentioned that he was a team player even from an early age. He didn't care about his own stats. And so I think pushing that big team accomplishment as a big deal in this ceremony would have been meaningful to Dirk. That's just my guess. That's my theory.
And he's such a team player.
As a fan watching it, you're like, this is not all Dirk, but
like just showing the missed shots against the Heat and like LeBron dunking, like all these I'm like, okay, I don't get
that was what it was. They showed a LeBron dunking highlight, and you were like, I'm out. This is completely taking me out. It's ruined the moment for you.
Now, here's my thing. I'm a sucker for athletes in long marriages that that like to honor their spouse in either way, and so I love the Jessica part with him and when he's talking about his family, but man, nothing gets me more like misty eyed and like in my feelings and feeling something is when him and freaking Holger, man, like their relationship and him being there, he's dressed up. He didn't have the brown coat, jeans with boots on like he always does. And when Dirk looked at him, man, and said, at the end of his little tribute to Holger of like, tonight and this is just as much about you than me. Like, I felt that. Like that was the most like, am I feeling something right now? Like,
is it dusty in here?
Is
the smoke going on?
I started feeling it, and
oh my gosh,
I just their interactions get me every time. It weirdly gets me emotional.
That relationship matters a lot, right? That's a little bit of a father figure. That's a little bit of a, Mr. Miyagi kind of thing. Like, actually, it is Mr. Miyagi, right? Like, that's exactly what it is. But it's someone that was there with him, that was there through the entire thing. That the summer in Australia, like all that kind of stuff, he was there working and trying new things and being out there. And it was what made Dirk, right? He was able to do the things that he did because of Holger, and he credits him. And it was an incredible night. It was an incredible moment to be there. There's lasers, there was confetti, there was, Luka was on Instagram Live during it. Sterling Brown Instagram Live during it. All the Mavs players were on the side there. He had
some Warriors were out watching it.
Yeah, some Warriors were out watching it. We saw, so from the 2011 title team, Jason Kidd was obviously there. Dirk was obviously there. Tyson was obviously there. He's working with the Mavs. Caron Butler came back. You had Jan Mahimni come back. You had Brian Cardinal, the custodian there. You had JJ Barea obviously come back. And sitting next to Jan Mahimi during the game was Tony Parker. And you're like, Tony Parker was nowhere to be found the rest of the time. He was just, Sean Marion was there. But yeah. I found Tony Parker kind of interesting. He was just there hanging out and he wasn't part of the ceremony or
Yeah. And well, I saw a Brad Townsend tweet. I didn't know this. There was, one, I heard a crazy amount of number of tickets that Dirk had for tonight to invite people.
Oh, I bet.
It was an ungodly amount. But Brad Townsend tweeted out a small group of people that he knows that Dirk invited tonight, and Tony Parker was on that list. It was like Tony Parker, Avery Johnson, a couple of people, I think Roger Staubach and stuff. But anyway, some other people, like you said, Tony Parker, Chandler Parsons was there. I tweeted out
for a little bit.
CD Lamb, Amari Cooper, Clayton Kershaw, Matthew Stafford's friend. And
they played together. Did you know that?
It was funny because I tweeted out a list of people that are there that I'd seen. I saw Charlie V in the concourse. He's just like chilling, like, hey, I'll take pictures of anybody.
Charlie V's always, I feel like Charlie V has season tickets. I feel like I see him a lot at Mavs games.
I think yeah. But I tweeted out just Parsons was there, and then there's a handful of people like, what? Michael Parsons is there? He's got COVID.
He was there the game before.
I'm like, Chandler Parsons, guys.
Michael Parsons was there the last game on Monday against the,
Yeah. But it was really cool seeing everybody there. Real quick, I just want to ask you thoughts on the statue. I know there's some people.
I know.
I'm assuming some people have some thoughts on the statue, but
the statue is interesting. So Mark Cuban unveiled a miniature version of it, and he said it's going to be in front of this stadium and the next stadium and the next stadium. And I was like, okay, I don't know if that hits as hard as one championship, two championship, like what he was trying to do.
I don't think Mark will be alive for 3 stadiums from now.
You don't know where crypto's going. So the statue is obviously the one-legged fade, and then it has a basketball with 2 other basketballs coming out of it, sort of imitating the arc of a shot. And it looks pretty interesting. It has the base of it is like layers of like a book. If you were like flipping the pages, almost is what Dirk's standing on. And so you have that. The 3 basketballs is the one that throws me off, but. They said that Dirk had some say in it, and so they.
Here's my thing. He said at his, the press conference before this game, it was the day before. He said that he had met, with an artist in Chicago
with the sculptor.
Yeah, with the sculptor, and he even said, "Hey, it's going to be different." And so I took the different as, oh, it's not going to be the one-legged fade. Like it's going to be something else. I'm like, that'll be very interesting. Still the fade, but I see what he means now about being different. I don't mind it too much. I think I had more of an issue of like, are they going to put like colors on it? It had like a white, Mavs jersey on it and stuff, but
it's silver too. The statue was silver and the base was like bronze looking.
Yeah, I actually think it looks really cool. And I mean, everybody's going to take their picture with it. So three balls or not. I don't care.
As long as it doesn't look like Cristiano Ronaldo's, right?
Yes.
As long as it doesn't look like that. All right, coming up, let's get into this game. We got some time. Let's talk about the Mavericks.
We got time to get something to eat. We got time.
Their biggest win of the season. We'll have to talk about this. We'll probably have to talk about it a little bit tomorrow as well. But let's get into it quickly coming up. But before we do, let me tell you how to bet on some of these games. The NBA is crazy. Crazy things are happening. Freaking Lance Stevenson goes off for 20 points in 6 minutes in the first quarter against the Nets. You never know what's going on. You have this weekend, Dallas Cowboys versus Philadelphia Eagles. The Cowboys are 7.5-point favorite. 7.5 with how bad that offense is playing without Micah Parsons. That's interesting to me. So if you feel strongly about that one, go bet on it on betonline.ag. You also have a bunch of other NFL games going on this weekend. That Cowboys game is on Saturday. You have Sunday games as well. You have basketball games still going on. You have college basketball. You have all kinds of things. You can put some money down. Use the promo code LOCKDOWN. You get a 50% welcome bonus with your first deposit. BetOnline.ag, where the game starts. All right, Isaac Harris. So in all the Dirk hoopla and honoring and all that, there's an actual game that went on. And Worldwide Wob, I think, said this best. It was ballsy that the Mavericks planned for this game specifically for Dirk's jersey retirement, because the Warriors were the best team in the NBA. They had the best record. They were playing the best. They were really healthy, except for Klay Thompson, who's coming back soon. And this team was just rolling. It's not a team that the Mavericks would normally play well against. And they scheduled it for this game. And it was ballsy because it could have easily gone to where it was a 20-point Warriors win and the Mavericks, Jamal Crawfording the Mavericks at the end when Jamal Crawford had 51 against the Mavs and Dirk's retirement game. But the Mavs pulled out the win, 99-82, and the Mavericks defense showed up in this game.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest storyline. I mean, if you want to say the Warriors just missed shots, you can say that because they did miss a lot of shots. I mean, at the end of the first quarter, they were 0 of 6 from 3. Steph had 2 points at the end of the first, and you're like, is this going to be one of those like weird games for Steph? It was a weird game for Steph.
He had 2 points at the end of the first half, right?
Dang.
He had 5 points at the end of the first half. 5 points.
Yeah, I mean, he only finished with 14. He was 1 of 9 from 3, 5 of 24. Missed 19 shots in this game,
and 10 of those points were like in a row in the third quarter. He went on a little run there, and that was it.
Yeah, so I mean, I think the biggest takeaway from this game is, not only have the Mavericks won, 4 games in a row here, but Tim McMahon tweeted out after the game, this is 5 games in a row that they've held an opponent under 100 points. This is 3 games in a row they've held an opponent under 90 points. And I think the biggest takeaway is this Mavericks defense like for real? Like we always talk about, hey, we want to see more. We want to see more. And they go against the best team in the league tonight and they hold them to, their season low. I think it's time for us to start thinking about this Mavericks team as, man, have they really turned the corner as a defensive team?
And what changed? Like, what is this roster doing? What are we seeing from this roster and this team defensively that stands out? It's okay. Well, their best defensive players are healthy. We've talked a little bit about this trio of the Mavs' best defensive players are Maxi Kleber, Dorian Finney-Smith, and Reggie Bullock. Those are like guys that can switch, guys that can defend the rim a little bit, guys that can defend out in space. Those are the 3 guys that can do a bunch of different things on the defensive end. And those guys are finally back and healthy, out of health and safety protocols and all that. Those guys are also starting to hit their shots. Now, don't look at Maxi Kleber's stats in this game about making shots, but those guys are also contributing on the offensive end. So it allows Jason Kidd to play those guys a little bit more. And then you throw in who are the replacements. You have Sterling Brown who gets some time and he can be switchy and move around. Dwight Powell has been playing some decent, switchy defense. He can at least get out in space with some guys. He struggles at the rim, but he can do some of the other things that you need to do against a team like the Warriors that moves the ball around a lot, right? He doesn't have to just be planted at the rim and guys just driving at him over and over again. He's just going to run around a little bit. You have guys like Tim Hardaway Jr. getting locked in. He's put on Steph Curry for a little while there. He has to, he can't stop paying attention during defense, or he can't get beat on defense. It's really up to them. And I credit Jason Kidd a little bit, right? How well this team has been defending, the way that they rotate out to shooters, the way that they a lot of the Warriors points I felt were late in the shot clock where the Mavericks defended all the way up until like the last second, and then the Warriors would hit a shot and we'd be up in the press box like appalled, like, oh, what are they doing? They just defended so well until the very end. And it's because it seems like they're well coached.
Yeah. I mean, I think they do deserve some credit there. Kidd and the coaching staff for sure. He ran a pretty tight rotation tonight outside the starters. Reggie and Tim both played 25, 27 minutes, and then after that, Sterling played 14, and then you're looking at around like 5 minutes each for like Chris and and Josh Green. So kind of a tight rotation. But man, I feel like this is a broken record, but I just want to praise Dorian Finney-Smith, man. Like this dude he becomes more and more valuable for this team. He played 37 minutes tonight. He had 17 points. He 4 of 7 from 3. He guarded Steph majority of the game. How much you want to credit, Dorian's length on Steph tonight.
Bothered him.
To Steph just missing shots. I think it could be a combination of both for Steph's down game. But Dorian at $4 million is one of the biggest steals in the league.
It absolutely is. It's incredible. And he hit 4 threes in this game, which were all pretty massive. And he also hit he hit 2 other shots, and they were both just like drives where he's not just a stand in the corner and shoot guy on offense anymore. It really stands out how he's added that drive and finish game to his game. It's really stood out for him as well. It's something that makes him more dynamic, right? It adds an element to this offense that you can't just stay home on him, right? As a shooter. So that was awesome. I thought Tim Hardaway Jr. hit some big shots. Brunson hit some big shots. Both of those guys in big moments. Like, this was a low scoring game. The Mavericks scored 99 points in this game. Luka had 26. Dorian had 17. And then 15 points and 14 points from Brunson and Hardaway Jr. respectively are big, right? And they were big buckets at times when the Mavericks needed to spell themselves when Luka was out of the game. Tim Hardaway Jr. plus 18 in this game coming off the bench. So those minutes were good. The Mavericks went on big runs when he was out there on the floor.
What was Sterling's?
Sterling was a plus 29 in those minutes.
Let's talk about Luka just for a second. I thought he forced it a little bit in the second half.
Mavericks were way more ISO heavy, especially with Luka in this game. So we just Mavs last win, we just talked about how they're trying to marry this offensive style of isolation with Luka and Brunson, and then this ball movement that they played when Luka was out of the game, out of the lineup for 10 days, and they went straight back to Luka just isoing. And was some of it posturing because he wanted to score a bunch in Dirk's Jersey retirement game? Possibly. Was some of it because he thought he had a lot of mismatches against some of those Golden State defenders one-on-one, and he did not, because that team is well coached too, and that's a really good defense as well. They have Draymond that comes over and helps.
Wiggins played him well a few times tonight too. I want to praise him in the sense that 10 of 12 from the free throw line. That's really good for him. And then this is the the end on the sour note here, but he tweaked his ankle there at the end.
This is 2 segments in a row you've done this.
Really?
We're going downhill at the end of the
well, no, I just want to, I just wanted to mention it. We don't know how bad it's going to be. He had a limp after the game. We were both, watching with our binoculars, we were post game, but he tweaked his right ankle. I tweeted out a video of it. We'll just see how bad it is.
Early in the game, Luka was also grabbing his left hamstring a lot. For like almost a full minute, he was like grabbing his hamstring and kind of like trying to massage it. He stayed in the game during that one. And then you mentioned his ankle. He was he was going after Steph Curry in the open court. And when you go after Steph Curry in the open court, you have to just be like Gumby, because he just could go in any direction because he's such a good ball handler. It's on a string for him. And so he twisted his ankle. It was kind of a non-contact. He said he was fine. He stayed in the game. He mentioned that afterwards. It's not the same leg that he's been dealing with, the ankle and knee injury. So that was really positive. I think Callie Kaplan reported that. The other thing was that Juan Toscano-Anderson is added now to the list of random players that Luka just has like this beef with. Add it to like Patrick Beverly and Nick Claxton. And
you understand Pat Beverly's of the world,
Terrence Mann.
But Juan seems like a good guy for like everybody who talks about it. And even him, like, he pissed Luka off by dunking, swinging, hitting. Luka points at him, comes down the floor. Luka pump fakes, gets in the air, gets the foul, starts screaming. And Juan just like, he just accepts it. He just laughs at it. He's just like clapping, and like, all right, if Luka's good. But I'm like, hey, I don't care if this is like Luka's version of MJ making his list. If he just needs to create something with somebody to get pissed and play better or get the crowd. Honestly, it got the crowd into it. Like the crowd was kind of like bored in this game. Like we were talking about it all game, that it was like, even the first quarter felt like the players were even like, all right, can we just get to this jersey retirement? That it just felt like everything was in slow-mo. Felt like the crowd was just kind of like, all right, all right, we're here. Cool game. Let's get to the ceremony type thing.
It to me felt like, and I was waiting for this too, that they were just waiting for the Warriors to go on a run. They were waiting for the Warriors to be the Warriors. And there's obviously a lot of Warriors fans there too, because they always come out in droves. There's less than normal though, which was I liked.
Good.
I was glad, but there's a stretch in the third quarter I thought was just massive. The Mavericks went into halftime with a 50-39 lead. Like, it just felt like the Mavericks really took control of the game, and then coming out of halftime, the Warriors just turned back into the Warriors. It was like Cinderella, the reverse of Cinderella. They turned from pumpkins back into like a carriage, right? It just felt like they did that coming out of halftime. The Mavericks just looked stagnant. They weren't getting anything done. And the Warriors played their offense. They won a 15-6 run to start the third quarter. They took the lead with about 7 minutes left in the third quarter. The Warriors had started to blitz Luka and double team him and trap him and do all that stuff that we're used to seeing. They didn't have Porzingis. They didn't have playmakers. So Kidd decided to take out Dwight Powell and put in Tim Hardaway Jr. And they went a little small. They went small with Maxey at the 5, with Dorian, Tim Hardaway Jr., Luka. I think Brunson was out there as well.
He even went smaller in the fourth at one point when he took Maxey out and put Dorian at the 5.
And went real small at times because they needed some more movement. They needed some more playmaking. They needed some more passing. And then the Mavericks ended up, clawing back and taking back the lead at the end of that third quarter. So they were playing way better defense at that point, and they just responded really, really well. And I thought that was a great sign for this Mavericks team, right? To respond like that in a game against the Warriors, who, all right, coming out of halftime, all right, everything changed. The momentum just completely stripped from the Mavericks. Their lead that they were kind of milking was gone, and they were able to pull out the win in this one. I thought it was a real good sign of maturity for this Mavericks team.
I mean, you look at some of the best, wins in the league. I think they went into this game. I saw the stat. I could have seen the stat wrong, but they were 1-9 and maybe 1-10 against top 10 teams in the league. And, you host the best team in the league right now and you beat them. And so this is arguably their best win of the season. It's 4 in a row. They go for 5, this coming Friday, here in a few days.
Who would
Tomorrow.
you argue is a better win than this one? Like we were trying to figure out who was the top 10 team at the time that the Mavs beat, and it was either the Clippers or the Nuggets. And so I'm like, okay, well, this is the best win.
I guess it is the best win. Yeah.
This is the Mavs' best win of the season, I think. And it came at
on the best night of the season.
Came at an incredible night when Isaac's wearing a gold jacket. You gotta love it. There you go. Guys, thanks so much for listening to Locked On Mavs, making us your first listen every single day. Now, go listen to Locked On Bets, your daily one-stop shop for all your gambling needs. Locked On Bets, hosted by your boy Q and Lee Sterling. Also, listen to me and your boy Big Dave on the Locked On NBA podcast tonight. Guys, thanks so much for listening to Locked On Mavs.
Peace out.
Boom!
Dirk forever.